Hi, Lunchtime Live. I'll wait and see who's tuned in. Today we're going to be talking about the king snake. We have many king snakes here at the estuary. And I am here at the visitor center. And it's hot and humid, and there are a lot of clouds. We had a real fog bank earlier. Anybody there yet? Hi, April. I'll wait for a couple of more people. So today we are talking about the king of California snakes. And I'm here at the visitor center. If you, I chose this spot because right here we had a king snake hanging out for a few weeks. But of course I would never be so lucky as to see him today. Hi, Leon. Okay, well, I'll just get started. Hopefully we have a lot of snake lovers out there and they'll tune in. So today it's about the California king snake, and its scientific name is Lampropeltis californiae. I'm going to show you a picture. There is a California king snake. Notice the alternating bands of color. So kind of a dark brown, kind of a yellow-white, and they just alternate. And also, notice the dark eyes and the shape of the head. Poisonous snakes tend to have that triangular head. King snakes do not. And so as we go through the picture, really take a look at the shape of their head. Now this is interesting because we have a morph here in San Diego, and it's called the stripe blotch morph. Okay, so you see that, it's not this alternating band. It's this stripe. And a lot of times the stripe will, be blank in places. That's the blotch. And sometimes at the end of the tail, they'll get that alternating pattern again, this pattern. So they mix it up. So this is a San Diego morph. Although we mostly have these, you will see the others as well. Now when you get down like someplace like Riverside, it's called kind of a more Riverside pattern, has even more, almost like the center line of a road, with the stop pattern. But we don't have those here. We have this blotch. I'm going to show you another picture of the blotch pattern, the stripe and blotch. This has a lot more blotch, and it also will show you the color difference. Sometimes they're much more black and much more white, and sometimes they're that dark brown yellow. So there's a lot of variations in both color and pattern. Now, if we were going to go up to the mountains in San Diego, here's one that you're not going to see here unless somebody brings one here and lets it go. And that, might make somebody think it's a coral snake. It's not. It's a king snake. Different pattern. But we don't have those here. We just have this and that. Okay. So the location of king snakes is the western United States. So from Oregon as far as northern Mexico, and inland it would be like Nevada, Utah, Arizona, Colorado, you know, New Mexico. And their habitat is pretty varied. Chaparral, grassland, deserts, and here, marsh suburbs. Now let's talk about the meaning of their name. We call them the King of California snakes because they are the king of snakes. They have a propensity to hunt and eat other snakes. And they can eat rattlesnakes because they're naturally resistant to their venom. So, you know, we do have rattlesnakes up here, but we have a lot more king snakes, and they have to give those king snakes right away. Try to get away from them. So king snakes are non-venomous, and they kill by constriction. So they are actually the strongest of the constrictors for their size. You know, I mean, if you had like a really big kind of snake that you buy in a store that's a constrictor, you know, it's bigger, so it would be stronger. But for its size, it is the strongest. And it is definitely the king of California snakes. When disturbed, let's just say you want to catch one. If you tried, they tend to excrete a musky smell and fecal contents. So they will go to the bathroom on you. Some of them will act pretty feisty, and you know, they might coil or hide their head and pretend they have rattles, which they don't. They might twitch their tails like they do. They tend to twitch their tails when they're nervous. You know, they might even try to bite you. But in general, you know, they're not quite as grouchy as a gopher snake. Gopher snakes will spit on you. And gopher snakes really like to imitate rattlesnakes. So we pretty much just, you know, leave snakes alone here. We don't try to catch them. Just wanted to point out on a couple of these pages, we talked about that head and how it's different. You know, it's not that triangular shape. Just go through the pictures. You can really see here that it's not much wider than the body, if at all. So these guys are carnivores, and they're really opportunistic feeders. They'll eat a rodent, they'll eat reptiles, amphibians, and eggs. So I have a friend that told me yesterday that he actually saw one chasing a towhee one day. He heard this like thumping noise, and the towhee was running, and you know, he looked over, and here comes a California king snake, and it was almost like bounding after this towhee. You will see them at night as well as daytime. Most snakes you just see in the daytime, but not these guys. It's called cathmeral, and that means that they are active day or night, mind you, in ambient temperatures. So in the winter, when it's cold, they bromate. Bromate is not the same as hibernating, but it's similar. They go dormant and their metabolic activity minimizes. You probably know this, but snakes lay eggs. So that's called oviparous. So the baby's development is completed outside of the mother. It hatches externally. The female will choose the nest, which is really just a hidden place on the ground. And once she chooses that location, their eggs are laid between May and August. And typically like 42 to maybe 63 days after mating. So it's a while before they lay the eggs, and their clutch size is 5 to 12 eggs. When the hatchlings emerge, they are about, let's see, 8 to 13 inches. And I have a picture of a baby. I'll show you. Oop, not that one. Okay, here's a baby in someone's hand. Pretty cute, huh? You can see how tiny it is in the guy's hand. So that's 8 to 13 inches long. Now, to get back to the eating photos, I've got a couple of good photos of snakes doing their thing. You can see this one eating a rattlesnake. And if you look at that king snake, that's a pretty dark morph. See how dark that one is? The yellow stripes are pretty pale. But there he is, just eating a rattlesnake, resistant to that venom. Here's another picture. So, yeah. The king. There it is. Constricting it, squeezing it to death. So, do you guys know what a group of king snakes is called? It's called a den or a knot, which is my favorite because look at them. I mean, even by themselves, they look like a knot. But a group of king snakes is called a knot, and king snakes live about 20 years. So they are a pretty long-lived snake. Hi, Karina. It's so bright out, you guys. I can hardly see the names to say hello. Sorry about that. It's really bright. I'd like to be able to ask you guys if you had questions, but I wouldn't be able to see them. So, after the Facebook Live, be sure that if you have questions, you put them in the comments, and we'll get them answered for you. So, I guess I'll just go through the pictures one more time. There's that San Diego stripe and blotch morph. Here it is again. A little bit different color, darker, whiter. There's the mountain, which you won't see here unless somebody brought it here. One time someone did, because someone did report one. And here they are having their meal. He looks awfully happy to be eating. That's a happy face. I'm sure the rattlesnake is not happy. And here's the baby. 20-year lifespan. Okay, that's it for today's Lunchtime Live. If you come to the estuary, you could see one anywhere. Typically, I see them either getting some sun right on the main trail. So if you're watching where you're going, you're not going to step on one. And sometimes you'll see them, you know, around big bushes, because that's where they're hiding, probably before some of you tuned in. I showed this area here by the estuary, and there was one hanging out here. But, of course, he's not here today, or she. So I guess I'll see you guys next week. Hi, Barb and Susie. Okay, see you guys.